Hey guys, welcome back to the Jersey Comic Crew. On today's episode, we're doing a review and reaction of the Bad Batch Episode 6, Decommissioned. Come on inside.
What's up, everybody? We are the Jersey Comic Crew. Chris just said we are talking Bad Batch Episode 6, Decommissioned. Now, guys, make sure you do us a favor. Hit that like button, that subscribe, do all that great YouTube stuff so we can keep making content for you. And yes, guys, this is your spoiler warning right here, right now. If you haven't watched the episode, please do, because we're going to talk about the events in this. And now, guys, usually we kind of break these videos up. We do one, just review it, one, talk about theory. But from now on, we're going to do everything in one video, kind of make it a one-stop shop for you, give you the best bang for your buck. Now, Chris, about Decommissioned, this episode, a lot of fun. I liked seeing what happened after the droids, because that's one of the questions I had, watching, the Star Wars movies. I was like, what happened to all the droids after the original trilogy of the Clone Wars, moving into the next phase, which is, Palpatine and Vader and all that stuff. And they have decommission centers, and now we know that, the Empire in droves would take robots and destroy them, pretty much wiping out any data that they had on clones, because now the clones are under the new Empire forces, which is really cool.
Yeah, no, that was an interesting take on that when, they're kind of sent to go get this tactical droid.
Yep.
And, we're thinking, maybe someone has it. Maybe it's being used for something else now. And no, it's at a decommission center because, of course, it is, because the Clone War's over.
Mm-hmm.
And, the droids are gone. The Separatist forces were destroyed by Anakin in Episode 3. And, literally, he just killed everybody. So there was really no one left to keep making the droids. And there was no funding for it because Palpatine didn't have to play both sides anymore. So he doesn't have to fund the droid commission through the Separatists and the Republic Army as a senator. Now he's the Emperor. He's moving into this next phase, which we obviously saw in the beginning with, Tarkin and the new Imperial regime. So now there's all these decommission centers, and the Bad Batch have to find this one, Clone Wars era droid in this giant factory. Only one. Of course, there's only one left. And we come across, Rob, some characters that I know I wasn't the most fondest of in Clone Wars, and I don't think you were either, but we come across the Martez sisters again.
I have no idea who they were. I'll be honest. I had there they came in. I'm like, I guess I'm supposed to know who these people are. They're like, and I was like, oh, they're really cool. And then the more I read and kind of buff up for this episode, I was like, oh, they were in Star Wars stuff before.
They were in the last season of Clone Wars. Yeah, thank you for the Thanos of the Thanos Wanda integration of you destroyed my life. I have no idea who you are.
I have no idea who you are.
But yeah, so they were in the worst 4 episodes of the final season of Clone Wars, where Ahsoka left the Jedi Order, and she's trying to find out what is she going to do next and kind of who she is without being a full-fledged Jedi. And she comes across these 2 sisters who are just struggling to get by, and they're doing kind of these odd criminal type jobs for this, kind of mob market. And, she's trying to help them out in any way she can. So they were it was kind of like the lull period before the really cool stuff in the beginning with Obi-Wan and Anakin, and obviously the ending with Ahsoka's version of Order 66. So it was the 4 episodes, everyone's like, all right, can we just get past this? So they came back in a big bad way, though.
I like them in this. I thought they were really cool. Great characters, great visually, and then their voice lines and how they interacted with everybody. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy them.
So yeah, I like them better in this episode because of the ending.
Yeah, who were they talking to?
Oh, man, I think it's literally only 2 people that it could be. And I think that's the big question of this episode. Yeah. Which obviously, originally, I'm like, is it Ahsoka? Right? Because Ahsoka was the one who knew them in the Clone Wars, and she's the only Jedi they've interacted with. But then I went back and, of course, played it 40 times because I'm an Easter egg hunter. They say, R7, call him. They specifically said him.
They did say him.
So my options, Rob, are Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Okay.
Or Senator Bail Organa.
Layla's mother. I mean, wait, Leia's father.
Yeah, redo that. Just redo that part.
Yeah. Leia's father? Is that who that is?
Yes, Leia's adoptive father. And the reason is because, again, we're right after Order 66. We're at the beginning of the rebellion. We saw Saw Gerrera on that planet earlier, kind of trying to, start the sparks of the rebellion with random, farmers that were outcast of their own homes.
Yeah.
And Senator Bail Organa is on the ground floor canonically in that regime of trying to get the rebellion started.
Oh, I would like that. That makes a lot of sense. I think that'd be really cool, and they kind of like tie loose ends because when you think about Leia's parents, her adopted parents, at least in the main stage of movies and TV, kind of don't really have a place. I mean, there mentions whispers here and there. Most notably in the most recent ones, we know that like Leia's father, Organa, did this, and like all this kind of ties to Vader and stuff like that. But I think if they bring it back in the Bad Batch, that's more world building and more connecting tendrils that make side characters more important. I'm all about that. So I think that'd be really cool. I thought it was a bad guy at first.
No, that would be cool. And the other side of it is too. I think Bail Organa, if I recall, it's been a while. He was in Rebels a couple times.
Oh, really?
As the rebellion was like starting to gain traction. And Leia's in Rebels, like very young Leia's in Rebels. So it could be Senator Organa. How the Martez sisters got that connection is still wildly unknown. It could still be Obi-Wan, which would be great if it was Obi-Wan. It did look like there were like light-colored Jedi robes. Obi-Wan is the only living Jedi that we know with those type of, Jedi robes. It could be early on where he's on Tatooine. We know, obviously, after episode 3, Yoda gives him like, hey, I have training for you and stuff for you to do while you're there kind of looking after Luke and making sure he's protected and away from the Empire.
I think I would rather be Mr. Organa because you kind of separate what's going on with the Jedi and like kind of have a foil like, oh, this is a real world problem, like non-Jedi, non-crazy magical stuff, and you have that as the solution. And but my final thoughts on the Martez sisters, I like them in this episode. I want to see more of them. I think they're a great, fantastic foil to the Bad Batch. Strong women empowerment doing these crazy missions, and they can relate to Omega in the way that the Bad Batch can't, kind of create that missing link. I think it'll be really fun, and I hope to see them again in the show.
Yeah, I'm okay seeing them definitely now because either, someone had to make that link somewhere. Either Ahsoka reached out to them and said, hey, I know you want to help the rebellion because they clearly wanted that, droid's head for the information in there for a good cause. My original thought was, oh, they're working for Saw Gerrera and they're going to meet up with Saw somewhere because we saw him earlier.
I like that idea.
But it seems to me whoever they like left this huge cliffhanger, right? They didn't show you who it was. I think that's a big cliffhanger. I think it's Obi-Wan personally. And I think Ahsoka maybe like, hey, reach out to this guy. He might still be alive, or somehow Ahsoka's probably going to show up eventually, like we kind of thought.
I'm sure.
But this could be maybe a quick connection to Obi-Wan in the beginning stages of Tatooine too.
I think that'd be a lot of fun if it's Obi-Wan. So we got to talk about Wrecker in this episode because he hit his head again. And, it's making that ship go crazy. He keeps repeating, good soldiers follow orders. Now, luckily, I have the subtitles on, so I caught something. I'm not sure you caught it. When he's hearing voices or, like, he's saying good soldiers follow orders, one of those voices was Crosshair. He heard his comrade say the same thing. So maybe he's trying to, like, subconsciously reach out to Crosshair. Like, oh, that's my friend. Like, he's hearing this. I'm hearing the same thing. I don't know what's happening. Or he's just hearing that order that everybody else is hearing as clones, and we just slowly see the descent into madness. I mean, maybe we find out that Wrecker actually becomes dark and twisted because of this, and Crosshair was playing the long con and just pretended this whole time. I don't know, but I'm definitely worried about Wrecker.
Yeah, I would go with definitely your point of he's hearing the same thing that everyone else is hearing when it gets activated. And it's obviously affecting him more for two reasons, right? It wasn't activated naturally the way everyone else was because he's a defective clone. And two, the way it's getting activated is he's just getting like concussions over and over again.
Exactly. That's what's happening.
You know what I mean?
Concussions.
And I feel like we're now at the point where like he's got one more, right? Like it's already activated kind of, and he kind of fought it off because he's so strong. But I think it's like, all right, one more bad hit, which I think we're going to see. Like you and I have been speculating this for weeks now. I think it's coming up that's going to be a massive issue. They might be, building up. They've been really doing a good job of building up him and Omega, kind of like he's like an uncle. He's building her room uncle and stuff. Yep. So I think it's going to be kind of an emotional hit when it happens.
Oh, it's going to destroy her.
And then they're going to have to like fix him. And then realize this is what we need for Crosshair. But yeah, no, I thought that was a great scene where like he's afraid of heights and he has to swing across the lava pool, kind of video game style, and he ends up hitting his head. And yeah, it's like now he's got like one more maybe. So I'm wondering when that's going to happen too.
We have a lot of time within the show episode wise, so that might be like the mid-season like finale, like climactic moment with that. And that way it could keep going on because I don't know, they're not going to drag this out too much longer. But I'm excited to see because they still have so much to do with the Empire. Like I'm expecting an Empire focused episode within the next episode or two.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. And I got to say, in the beginning of this episode, I kind of felt that I was like, oh no, we're gonna have another kind of, side mission-esque episode, and it was in a lot of ways.
It was. That's exactly what
I
it was.
I think the action and the end tying into possibly characters we know and love, or possibly a bigger plot behind the scenes, is going to be something that kind of keeps you invested. Those breadcrumbs, but eventually they're gonna have to give you a full slice of bread.
Correct. Like they only could do that so long.
Yeah, and the other side is too, right? Like, obviously, if you watch the end of Clone Wars, Obi-Wan has met Task Force 99. He knows the Bad Batch. And for her to kind of say that at the end kind of makes me think it's still Obi-Wan, because she's like, yeah, these clones, these defective clones kind of helped us out. And maybe, who knows, maybe he knows about he obviously knows about Order 66. Maybe he knows more about it and why it's happened, and they've had more information. I don't know if that's going to tie in with what's going on with Wrecker and them. But it was definitely a fun episode. I like that Omega kind of has like her own weapon now that she's getting used to. And I want to see if you caught this. She caught on with that thing quick.
Yeah, it's almost like somebody showed her to do it one time, and then she got
boom.
Used to it real quick. That copying skill that we kind of suggested that she might have could be what it is down the line. I'm fine with that. She's learning to hone her skill of imitating others, but she did catch it really quick. I got worried for her when she got caught in the droid mess, but I knew she was going to get saved.
I knew she was going to escape, and I don't know if you thought this kind of during this whole factory scene. It's very reminiscent of like episode 2 in that factory scene where Anakin and Padme are in there.
Oh yeah.
Except it's like they're building droids in that factory to get ready for the Clone Wars, and this one they're just throwing them all into like a furnace to burn them.
They showed that
even
in the Clone Wars too. I remember.
Yeah, and even when Omega's like trapped under there, it's kind of like Anakin when he got his arm caught in that droid making machine, and obviously all that stuff. So that was like, I was like, oh, this is kind of like Attack of the Clones, like very reminiscent of that whole like funny scene where
that's
like
a
3PO gets his head knocked off.
Right there, my man.
I try.
Guys, that is our review and reaction to the Bad Batch episode 6, Decommissioned. Let us know down in the comments below what you think of this episode and where the series is going to go next in the future.
And guys, thanks so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up, really helps the channel out a lot. If you're brand new, subscribe and turn those notifications. You don't want to miss any more of our Bad Batch talk, as we're doing it every week. Make sure to check us out on our social medias on Instagram and Twitter at Jersey Comic Crew. And as always, I am Chris Heller. That is Rob Moran. And we are the Jersey Comic Crew. And we will see you next time.